Hello, hi, it's Hannah here from Squire's Shelf. We're in a slightly different setting today of the very unglamorous garage, my family garage, for a slightly different video. So my friend Mariam suggested that I do a video about my book collection that I've been kind of cataloguing. So yesterday I put a photo on my Instagram story just saying that I now have a bit of time to kind of go through and to organise all the books in my garage. I thought I'd do this. Also, just to say, as is the feature of most of my videos, apologies for my hair. This is how it turned out this morning, and to try and control it, I kind of have pushed it off my face. But I do look a bit like I should be in some kind of Bon Jovi 1980s power ballad music video as kind of the girlfriend of John Bon Jovi that gets cheated on and then has a love song written about her. So yeah, apologies. I don't know what happened to the hair. I can't say it's the humidity because it's absolutely freezing in here. So yeah, this is our garage. We've got 7 Billy bookcases in here, all from IKEA, to organise our books. I hasten to say as well, not all of these 7 bookshelves house my stuff. So this bookshelf here is full of family DVDs. For some reason we still have VHSs in this house. Some CDs as well, and magazines. I've just put some of my books in front of them while I'm sorting, but that's not mine. And then the furthest bookshelf here is kind of my mom's, dad and sister's. So 2 of them aren't mine, but 5 of them are. So yeah, I've just been kind of going through. I started yesterday. I did 6.5 hours yesterday sorting through all these books. I've been cleaning all the shelves again, giving the books a dust down and giving it a really good tidy and a sort. Because we moved here into this house 3 years ago, and I don't know about you, but when you move, I tried to put, so my most kind of precious books, like my Ethelina White, some of my early editions I put in my car and moved. The others were just all put in boxes. I tried to arrange them a little bit, but yeah. And then when they came here, just got them on the shelves here. And then recently, just trying to find things. I want a particular book. It just takes forever. Can't find it, and I thought, right, now I have a bit of time. I'm not an essential worker. I'm not doing that incredible work people in the NHS are doing, or people who work in supermarkets or other really essential trades. I have the kind of time to go through and sort this out. So I thought that's what I would do. Quite disgustingly, I found, I think being in the countryside and being in a garage as well, we found a few like mice droppings on the bottom layer. So as well as cleaning, I was told, my mum actually told me these peppermint drops are really good for kind of keeping mice away. Apparently the smell, so it smells quite pepperminty in here, but I'm making sure to do that as well. So yeah, I did a lot of the heavy lifting yesterday. I should have done a time lapse yesterday of what I was doing, but I didn't. So I thought I'd just show you a bit of what I've done today so far. And yeah, just to say, I'm not bragging. This is what I've been collecting over 29 years. It's a passion of mine. This is just how I like to spend my money. So yeah, so if we start here, so I thought we'd first start with non-fiction books. And as you can see here, so my mom has written these labels on the different shelves. So we've got, for example, Nature and Wellbeing, you can see here. She's done in her lovely calligraphy handwriting. And then this top shelf is just some, not all, some of them in my room, of my kind of nature and well-being books. So I'm really into nature mindfulness, and I've got also some mental health books. I love Matt Haig and Scarlett Curtis, so I've got those there. The next shelf is modern feminism. I just decided to create a category, being a staunch feminist myself. And quite a lot of these books were recommendations as part of our shared shelf, which is a group on Goodreads, which I love Goodreads. If you don't have the app, I find it really great. For kind of discovering new books and being part of the community. And Emma Watson used to run that, so I've been reading all of those. Not all of these are from that, also suggestions from friends and other books I've read about. Oh God, there goes a couple of books. Luckily they're my sister's, not mine, so we'll leave them. Next layer is a few nature books, a lot of kind of fashion books, interior design, that kind of thing. I just put them all together. Women's history, I'm going to go back, so once I've done this first initial sort, I'm going to go back and do a second kind of categorising. So I'm going to try and put these in some kind of chronological order, because you've got books about the lives of Tudor women, the Empress Josephine, and books about Joan of Arc. We've got the Radium Girls, Anne Frank, Virginia Woolf, Sylvia Plath. So yeah, just kind of a whole range of books about women's history. The next layer, a bit more women's history, and then just history generally. And the bottom layer, which I will go back and sort out better, is some of my bigger kind of art books. Then I kind of decided to go by author or by era, because I feel like I'm thinking about, it's quite idiosyncratic, but when I want to go and look for a book or look for a particular category, how would I do it? So this is how I kind of organised the shelves, once again with my mom's lovely handwriting. So I thought we need kind of a Jane Austen shelf. So obviously these aren't all non-fiction. I've got my non-fiction books here about Jane Austen, and then various copies of her work. And then I've got this really lovely Death Comes to Pemberley, which I really recommend. It's crime fiction, as you'd expect from P.D. James, and it's set after Pride and Prejudice, so it involves a murder, and Wickham is very much involved, his wife Lydia, Elizabeth Darcy now, Mr. Darcy, so that's a great read. And I was going to try and do this chronologically, but I realised I've done it the wrong way around, but never mind, the books fit better this way as well. So the next layer is Keats and the Romantics. So I spent over a year volunteering at Keats' house in Hampstead Heath, near Hampstead Heath, and I just love John Keats, one of my favourite poets. So I've got lots of books about him and his poetry as well. Some generally about the Romantics, some about Shelley, we've got Lord Byron, Mary Shelley as well, and then my favourite person, well, not my favourite person, one of my favourite writers, Mary Wollstonecraft, here as well. Next layer is just kind of general Victorian non-fiction books, and then the layer below is a bit more Victorian, Edwardian, a few about the history of Wolverhampton, where I'm from. And then we go into the 1920s, one of my favourite eras. So we've got this really lovely book about the incredible performer Josephine Baker. Louise books, of course, some Clara Bow, the actress, Theda Bara, who I love. This was Stephen Tennant, who I mentioned in my last video actually. In my bedroom when I have the finger wave. So this is one of the Bright Young Things, Stephen Tennant. It's a really good biography. Of course, a biography about the musician Al Bowley, and also the really lovely Buster Keaton. The layer below I need to kind of go back and resort because it's just more non-fiction, but I've got kind of Lena Dunham, Benjamin Zephaniah, Bill Clinton all together. And then the bottom layer is kind of more art books, and then National Trust books. So I work for the National Trust. This video is no way affiliated with them, just to say. These I'm kind of less happy with. So I've kind of done it by the books that will fit. So this is kind of some of my classics. I'm trying to work out, I have some classics in my room, well I have some books in my room, some down here, how that's going to work. You'll see from my previous videos in my bedroom that I have that really lovely kind of corner unit, the 1930s bookshelf, which I have, and I have one of the bookshelf in my room, which is kind of like half a Billy bookcase size, that I keep my books on. But that's not really very much. My sister even said, considering the amount of books you don't have enough storage in your room. So I'm kind of in the future, when we can leave the house again, I'm going to work on that. But for the moment, I'm going to work out which ones are priorities to be in my room. So obviously, of course, my early editions, Ethelina White, P.G. Wodehouse early editions, Dickens, those kind of books will stay in my room. And the books I read the most, I'm going to work out and keep some of them in my room. But yeah, so these are my 4 20th century classics. Then we've got quite a lot about the suffragettes and the suffragists, so the fight for women's suffrage and the fight for the vote. These aren't all of them, I have quite a few in my bedroom as well, so I'll probably bring them down and put them all together. I'm going to be doing kind of a lot of rejigging over the next few weeks, and I really want to take my time to think about and just explore my collection again and rediscover some books that I'd read before but forgot I had, and to go back to them. So yeah, suffragettes. Then we go into the Pre-Raphaelites and the aesthetic movement, and we've also got, then we go into William Morris, a bit more about the 19th century art movement, because that's kind of what I studied at university, and then a layer about kind of English literature and English theory, and then this layer I thought about, so I've got some, these aren't all of them, we'll have to go through and find the others. I've got some like American 20th century classics I was going to put on the next layer, but then I thought, it doesn't quite make sense, because it feels like to me that you go from the 19th century Pre-Raphaelite artists, William Morris, all about that kind of Victorian era English literature. It kind of just makes sense maybe to thinking maybe Oscar Wilde actually to put on this shelf. So I'm going to give it a quick wipe down again. This shelf, and I've already put a bit of peppermint on these 2 bottom layers, so I won't do that again. Actually maybe just to be on the safe side, we'll just put a little bit. I don't know how high these mice can climb, because I found some bits on the second layer, so they're a bit kind of Spider-Man mice, so I thought I'll do a couple of layers just to be on the safe side. And then yeah, so we'll move Oscar Wilde. So Oscar Wilde's kind of a favourite of mine since I was a teenager. I'm actually reading at the moment the children's books he wrote, so The Happy Prince and Other Stories. So we've got some biographies of him here. This is a really lovely book by his grandson, Merlin Holland, and then his son Vivian also wrote a book. So we've got some non-fiction and then fiction as well. So I had them next to Woodhouse originally, but I think they're better to go over there. I'll sort those out later. And his novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray, I love this copy by Penguin Classics, it's really lovely. And obviously some more of his poems and letters here. So I think we'll go put these on this shelf. It kind of makes sense to me anyway. And if you follow, so I said I work for the National Trust, I'm an assistant curator, and I did, not long ago actually, for in February, I did a video on National Trust Midlands Facebook page live, which you can still watch, all about Oscar Wilde's connections to Whittick Manor, where I used to work. So yeah, a massive fan of him. Oh, you can really smell that peppermint. So we've got Oscar Wilde, and then do we do kind of chronologically think about, I hadn't thought about doing like an LGBTQ shelf, because I didn't know if I was kind of pigeonholing. I was going to kind of to mix them in. But I think actually it might be really nice to kind of do that. So we've got Oscar Wilde, so it makes sense maybe if we go next generation and we go Virginia Woolf, we put her novels, and as we're having Virginia, we're going to take her lover as well, Vita Sackville West's book. So I have actually more books about Vita and Virginia that are bigger that won't fit on that shelf in my room, but I might kind of think about reorganising and putting some of them maybe on the bottom shelf. I've got of course A Room of One's Own, Orlando, and a few Vitas. I've got some more Vitas as well, but I think they're upstairs. So I have to go through and sort through those. I didn't realise how long this actually takes. I thought I'd probably do it in a day, and it's just not going to happen. So yeah, so we've got Oscar, Vita, Oscar, Virginia, Vita, who else? Yeah, so this is a non-fiction book that I'm going to put just before Oscar. So this is a really lovely book, and two kind of heroes of mine that I'd never heard of before until maybe last year or the year before I read this. So this is Fanny and Stella, who the generation before Oscar Wilde went to trial for his homosexuality and went to jail. Really big news story in the papers were Fanny and Stella, who at the time were called female impersonators, and they dressed in women's clothes. But I mean, you can't really. I'm not here to define them. You might consider them as kind of female transgender, but it's a different era and it's hard to kind of put your modern lens then. But I think they're incredible for standing up, for being who they were, for being feminine at a time when the patriarchy really did not like that. And this book really talks about what they endured because of them just wanting to be who they are. And I think it's a really wonderful book. So I'm going to put that. So I'm going to have an LGBTQ shelf here. So we'll put Fanny before, because they were the generation Fanny and Stella before Oscar Wilde. I'm also thinking, so this shelf here, I'd kind of done women's literature of particularly new women, that kind of late 19th century idea of that emancipated woman. So I'd put Radcliffe Hall here, The Well of Loneliness, but I think as she's an LGBTQ writer, I'll add her to that shelf, because The Well of Loneliness came to trial. It was a really important time, really important moment in the history of censorship of LGBTQ lives, because in The Well of Loneliness it features two women kissing, which is considered very scandalous at the time. So I'll put her next to Vita and Virginia, because Virginia really kind of followed the trial and really interested in it, and it shows from Sissinghurst in Vita's copy of the book how she followed it. So yeah, we'll put her there. Another writer I think that I'm going to put next to is, so on this shelf here I've got some Agatha Christie's, I've got more in my room, I've got some Daphne du Maurier, and I'd put, because she's the same era, some Sylvia Townsend Warner. So I've got a biography of hers and then a few of her novels, but as she was kind of an openly gay woman, and this particularly, so Lolly Willows is a very kind of feminist novel. I feel like I'll put these next to, she can go next to Radcliffe Hall, they'd get on. So then I have a kind of conundrum, because I'm thinking I'll go through my collection, think about more LGBTQ artists I have that I could put here, but then also do I put somebody like Sarah Waters, so I have some of her books. So this is an example of one of them, The Paying Guests. It's a really great book set in the 20s. So Sarah Waters, if you don't know, is a contemporary, so she's a living writer who mainly writes historical fiction, who writes historical fiction about LGBTQ lives, particularly lesbian women. So I feel like, should I put her next to, and the rest of my Sarah Waters next to like that? It's kind of chronologically, sorry, I'm going really tired from all this sorting. So I do that as a theme, I think. So I might carry on doing that. But I will, this video is getting quite long, so I will stop organising there. I'll carry on doing these shelves by myself. But quickly before we go, I'm going to show you, so I've got my Bronte sisters here, both their fiction, poetry and books about them. I've got so many copies of Jane Eyre. And then this is an author I wanted to recommend to anybody who wants something escapist, some really funny writing that can really take you out of yourself, which I found really helpful for me. So Georgette Heyer, who was a writer in the 1930s, so she had two kind of main styles of her fiction. The books that she wrote the most are these, The Devil's Cub. These are late 18th, early 19th century kind of Regency era romances. So lots of shenanigans happen, they get into various situations, but then it always ends up in people in love getting married, so it's very sweet. And yeah, and really funny. Some of the characters are so ridiculous. But then also Georgette Heyer wrote crime fiction as well, set in her era, set in the 1930s. So it's kind of interesting to relate to Ethelina White. So we have, for example, Behold His Poison, great title. She wrote less of these. I've got all of her 1930s murder mysteries. I don't have all of her Regency era ones. Kind of working my way through them, but I really recommend her as a writer, and I go back and reread these often. So even when you know who the murderer is, you kind of pick up on so many of the details and so much of the language and the jokes. Just really good. So yeah. So I'm going to carry on sorting it here. I hope you like this video. It's been a bit different. Yeah. Hopefully one day in the future I will have my own kind of house. I'll have my own kind of space, and I can have all this kind of indoors, maybe in like a dining room or a second bedroom. But at the moment, it's just great to be able to have this space in our family garage. You know, I know how privileged I am, and really nice to have this time. I know so many people in NHS and other essential workers doing such incredible work. And if my dad wasn't in the situation he is with his illness, I would love to be an NHS volunteer. But no, I'm taking this time to occupy myself. It's been really good for my mental health, really good for my anxiety, to keep busy, to keep working, to be doing something. And I'll probably do a follow-up video when this is all sorted. Who knows when that's going to happen. But yeah, I hope you liked it. Is there anything in particular here you're interested in, want me to talk about a bit more, just let me know. And yeah, take care, have a lovely evening. Today's Thursday, so I'm hoping by like next week this should be done. So yeah, nice to talk to you. Bye guys, thank you.